because I'm joined. I feel like I need an anthem, actually, because we've just been talking about the didgeridoo. And I feel like I need an anthem for this because I'm joined in the studio by a literal Australian royalty. You are Australian royalty, author Kathy Lette. How are you?
I'm very happy to see you as we go into some girl talk. You'll be ovulating by the end of this conversation.
I feel like I very nearly am every day, practically. Okay. Either that or I'm, what is the phrase? I'm menopausal.
Oh, menopausal. Well, yeah. Are you driving a menopause?
I haven't had that crisis yet. Of course, you have sold 1 million books in your career. You have written, is it 19 books?
20.
So is this number 20?
Yeah, I did start young, though.
Because your first one was Puberty Blues.
Puberty Blues.
Because every time, so I met you out and about and like on the circuit, you know, like, and I was hanging around, you probably, you know, looking through hotel and the glamorous party windows. And I remember I just knew you as the fabulous Kathy, the author.
Oh, you're so lovely.
But then I told Australian friends of mine, I mentioned you one day, I was like, oh, that's the Kathy Lette, oh, she's fabulous. And they were like, you know Kathy Lette?
Oh, well, where is my tiara? I think it's time.
But because in Australia, though, that book was...
Yes, this is the first book I wrote when I was a teenager about growing up as the surfy girl, and the boys that were so sexist. I always tell this story how they used to get us to cut their names out in paper, sticky tape them to our stomach, and then sunbake so we get a tan tattoo in the shape of their name. So if ever I get cancer, I'll have a melanoma called Bruce. I'll have to have like a brucectomy to get rid of it. And the book was all about...
You'd never do that in London's Grey Skies, would you? You'd be totally screwed doing that, wouldn't you?
Totally screwed. And it was also about, you know, all the girls losing their virginity in the panel vans and whatever, because I always joke that Australian men think sex drive means doing it in the car.
Yeah.
But I worked out why, because of that little sign on the rear vision mirror that says, objects in this mirror may appear larger than they are, you know. So it was a kind of scandalous book that sort of took me from non-entity to overnight notoriety. It was made into a film, it was made into a TV series, so it's an iconic cult book in Australia. So whenever I'm walking around Piccadilly Circus, if any Aussie kids see me, they'll call out dialogue from the book. They'll go, you know, rack off your fish face mole or whatever, you know, my huge contribution I've made to the English vernacular.
Like, how long have you been in the UK now?
35 years. I'm practically a POM. My lips have lost weight, the amount of vowel rounding I've done. I'm having a vowel transplant as we speak. And now because you've not had a great time in the world of showbiz, because showbiz is brutal, ladies and gentlemen. Because now you've got this fab new book out, which is The Revenge Club, which is about scorned women who decide to carry out revenge on the men who sacked them for the crime of being middle-aged.
But you were actually dropped by your publisher before you did this book.
It actually happened to me. I went to see my... look, I'm published in 19 languages. I've written all these books. I've sold over 1 million copies. I went to see my agent and said, I want to write this book about 4 middle-aged women who take revenge on the men who are sidelining them for the crime of being menopausal. And he's like, you know what? No one wants to read about middle-aged women. They're just not sexy. And then my publisher dropped me. And I heard from other publishers. One of them said, middle-aged women, they're like the Sudan or Mogadishu. We know they exist, but nobody wants to go there. So I thought, wow, maybe I have passed my amuse-by date. Maybe it's time I was put out to career pasture.
Were you upset?
Terribly upset. I'm the mouth from the south, you know. I've got so much to say. I thought at time I start sitting at home knitting my own orgasms or what?
But that's really rare, because most people in showbiz are a bit like, oh no, it was fine, I was just resting for a bit. But you're out there, you were devastated.
I was devastated. I really was. I mean, my self-confidence was limbo low. It was lower than Kim Kardashian's bikini line. But then I thought, is the problem me, or is it these white male stale publishers who weren't understanding me? Because you know, whenever I read a book about a woman my age, she's normally wilting away with loneliness in some flat, and she dies of despair and gets eaten by her cats. I don't know any women like that. All my women friends are swinging off a chandelier with a toy boy between their teeth. They're having the best, most sensational second act. They're funny, they're feisty, they're fabulous. And so all I did was change agents. I got a gorgeous gay love god agent who understood exactly what I was talking about.
The gays love you.
Well, I love the gays. I mean, what's not to love about you?
Oh, well, thank you.
And then I got a 2-book deal that day. So what I learned from that is to always fight back, you know, never just curl up like a bit of wilted lettuce in the corner of the room.
But then, Kathy Lette, and you know I love you dearly, but have you not just been guilty of doing a little bit of what was done to you by saying white male stale agent? Because while it is, I think you're quite right that women reach a certain age, and I think that they are a bit ignored. Isn't there also an issue where, because of the fact we talk about women being ignored so much, and we've got great books about it and all this sort of stuff, the book is called Revenge Club, and you've got some great write-ups on the back as well, but also, isn't there an issue with men, and especially, I think, white straight men, not really knowing their role in society now as well?
Well, there's people say that, but when you look at the facts, I mean, just look at our language. Well, a woman my age, so I'm dismissed as an old hag, a bag and a crone. Whereas a man my age is...
I didn't read any of that on the back.
But a man my age is a silver fox, right? You never hear a bloke dismissed as mutton dressed as ram, ever.
Oh, I don't know, Boris Johnson. I mean, we used to take the mickey out of what he looked like constantly because he looked like he'd been, like, you know, in a fight or had a fight with a hedge.
Yeah, but he's still getting laid.
Yeah,
he still had lots of younger women.
But do you worry? Because I know you're the mum of... Have you got one boy?
I have, yes, 33.
And you've got girls as...
my daughter's 31, my son's 33. You're supposed to act shocked when I say that. Kath, you look too young. Oh.
Do you... Oh, sorry, you look too young.
Much
sorry,
better,
that was
thank
the cue.
you.
Sorry.
Yeah, I thought you'd been to say the right thing, school.
Do you, as an advocate for writing the stuff about women, and I get it, and I don't want to just make it about men because you're here to talk about your book about women, but I really worry about men nowadays because... you know, and I'm a big old gay, so it doesn't affect me so much because I know what I am and my role. But I worry a lot, and I think it's, you know, not to bring it too much of a downer, but I think it's reflected in the suicide rate a bit as well, that I think that we talk an awful lot, rightly, about the wrongs of women and about how women become invisible and about how women have not had pay parity and all of those sorts of things. But I also think that we have a society where men are given really mixed messages. We want you to be masculine and not cry, but actually no, we don't. We want you to have feelings and actually to cry, and we want you to be absolutely conscious of the fact that women want equality, but actually no, we want you to open the door for women as well, and actually, you know, maybe pay for the meal on the first day. And I worry that all of that is making, especially young men, really unsure about what their place is in society. Do you think that's a fair comment, or do you think that that's nonsense?
I think feminism is good for men and women.
Yeah, I'm not criticising feminism.
No, I'm just saying, so we're agitating for equality and to be allowed to be our best selves. And if we can have the career and the man can be the stay-at-home, you know, domestic engineer, and that suits him, well, that's liberating for him. I think the other thing we want men to do is emote, because when women get together, we strip off to our emotional undies in about 3.6 seconds, and it's a psychological striptease that reveals all. And the gay guys are good at that too, that's why we emote together. But for straight guys, they do find that hard to articulate their feelings, which is why it can sort of internalise and turn into depression, etc. So we're encouraging men to emote with us and talk with us. And we want the best for men.
But then don't a lot of girls also, women also want the man, they want that sometimes, but they also want sometimes the man who is going to scoop them all up and not be that man who's sort of crying. And so that's why I wonder sometimes whether there's a disconnect between what women want, what society wants, what men themselves want, and I think that's why they get a bit confused.
Well, yes, okay, I understand what you're saying, but can we just look also back at the facts? World is not getting better for women. Look at the abortion bans in America. Look what's happening in Afghanistan when women are being erased. What about Iran? Never has a haircut been so political. Then you've got date rape, you've got upskirting, you've got revenge porn.
Well, we've seen terrible convictions, you know, today against, you know, the person who was planning against Holly Willoughby. So
every 3 days in Britain, a woman is murdered by a man, and often a man she knows. So yes, I appreciate that men are feeling a little bit insecure about their role in society, but they're not being killed every 3 days.
No, the problem is, though, and we've got to get to a break, but the problem is they're killing themselves. And that is the big problem, I think. And that's not to take away from anything that you've just said. I think you're absolutely right. I think that the issue is that men are turning violence on women, but they're also turning violence on themselves. And I think that that should also just be acknowledged. But
if we could just all learn to love each other a little bit more. I'm wearing a hippie trippy flower shirt today, so
wear fabulous clothes and makeup, or follow the gaze. That's all you need to do. Okay, when we return, we'll talk more about revenge and what is in this book. And we also, because you know you're so good at this sort of thing, I might just get an update on the state of the world with Kathy Lette on what is going on, and that is all next live here on Talk. Okay, so we've got Kathy Lette in the studio. It's Cristo this afternoon with you for another 10 minutes. What a breath of fresh air, says Howard in Suffolk.
Nice.
So funny and bright. You didn't send that yourself, did you? You didn't have your phone out. Just checking.
Dropping my own name.
The Revenge Club. How many is it sold in Australia?
Well, the best thing is, talk about revenge, it went straight to #1 in Australia, so that's really great. And
So,
here, when it came out, it was top of hot new releases. So I did allow myself a little moment of light gloating for the publisher and the agent who didn't believe in me.
So a landslide victory, you might say, which takes us nicely to the state of the world at the moment and the state of the UK, because we have a new government.
Hooray!
Well, they're saying that they're going to release prisoners. They're saying they're going to spend billions on net zero. They're saying all sorts of things. I mean, where are you with what's happening?
Well, first of all, how great to have a Toryectomy.
They didn't deserve to win the last election.
To get rid of those toxic Tories was an absolute joy, wasn't it?
So, well, yeah, and the thing is, I didn't feel like the Tories deserved to win the last election, but I don't like Labour. That's my problem.
Well, I'm a Labour voter, a tribal Labour voter, so I'm absolutely delighted.
We can't be friends now.
Oh, darling, it's a mixed marriage.
It is. It is actually. Yeah. You've gotten quite well with my partner. But anyway, but are you impressed with them in their first week?
Well, give them a chance. They haven't even unpacked their undies.
Yeah, but they have. They've said a lot. They've said a lot.
Well, they've got so much to fix. I mean, the sewage in the seas, the schools falling down. I mean, they've been left the most. It's going to take a labour of love to fix broken Britain.
But do you worry that because I'm friends, I go on a lot of panel shows with a lot of people with an opposing political view to me, and actually most of my friends have an opposing political view to me, and a lot of them say, look, we probably will end up paying a bit more tax, but we don't care because actually we're happy to. Are you in that camp?
Totally. I mean, if you look at the happiest countries in the world, the countries that rate highest on the happy-ometer are the Nordic countries. And when they drill down and see why people feel so happy there, they pay more taxes, yes, but they have a more equal society. And so you don't see outrageous levels of poverty and deprivation on the streets, and people feel better about that.
True, but then does that not lead us to a society where... Because I believe passionately that it's a government's job to help you keep more of your own money. And by doing that, it drives actually people to want to work harder, that you end up with more people and you actually end up with more tax for a government. So the destination that you and I want to get to is the same, but the means by which getting there is probably a bit different, as I have with a lot of people I love and get on with. So my worry is if they start sort of laying tax on things like inheritance and capital gains tax and all of these sorts of things, we're going to end up in a situation where no one's going to want to sort of be entrepreneurial or all those sorts of things.
Oh, well, I totally disagree with everything you just said. And also, it's a great myth that the Conservatives are good with finances. The Conservatives conserve nothing. I mean, look what Liz Truss did. She tanked the economy in 2 days. So don't.
You're rubbing a little bit on your microphone. Let's just move it up a tiny little bit.
Is that what's happening?
I think it's fallen down.
Oh, I see. Oh.
I'm not putting my hand down your top to get it. There we go. It's on. No, I don't think that they did a particularly good job. They spent billions on COVID. They spent billions handing out money to other contracts. They spent millions on memoranda that didn't even work and was just a gimmick. And so I absolutely agree. Like, my saying I'm worried about Labour is not an endorsement of where the Conservatives were at all, because I thought that they were absolutely hopeless towards the end. But my worry is that we're going to spend like billions and millions on things like net zero and taxing people and all this sort of stuff. And I'm really worried that's going to make people loads poorer.
See, you are an Eeyore. You think optimism is an eye disease. And I think they've been in power for a week. I think, could you just shelve your scepticism? You have chronic skepticemia. You are sceptical about everything.
Welcome to my job.
Yeah, let's just give them a chance. Let's just sit back and hope for the best and see.
Now, I have to ask you, 2 celebrity connections you've got. Firstly, I'll do the one I'm less interested in first. How's Julian Assange? Because didn't he live in your attic at one point?
He did live in my attic. Well, I used to be married to a very famous and fabulous human rights lawyer, which means that we had a lot of interesting house guests, from banned poets to, you know, prisoners on the run to prime ministers in exile and poets who were banned. Anyway, and we also had Salman Rushdie was up there for a while.
Wow.
We had
and do you still speak to
Hewitt
any
was
of
there
them?
for a while. Oh yeah, Hewitt was there for a while. We also had Julian Assange. You know, I've had everyone in my attic except Dorian Gray, basically.
Has he been in touch since he's been
Of
out?
course,
And
yes.
what's he got to say? Anything?
Well, I actually haven't spoken to him. His lawyer, Jen Robinson, is staying with me tonight, so I'll get all the lowdown.
Oh, I want the lowdown.
But I think all publishers and journalists should have been deeply relieved when he got out of prison, because if he'd been extradited to a supermax in America for the crime of publishing, he didn't steal anything, he published, as did the New York Times, as did the Guardian, etc. That would have been a chilling moment for people like you.
And just finally then, one more, and then I'll bring in Peter Cardwell. You're also best friends with Kylie.
I am.
How is
yes.
Kylie? And tell me something amazing about Kylie I don't know.
Well, she's the most down-to-earth diva.
What does she eat at your house?
You could ever meet. Well, she's not only did she come and eat everything, but she also then puts the gloves on and does all the washing up and cleaning.
She
totally does. I know, it's incredible.
And does she do good washing up? Because sometimes when people do washing up, it's a bit naff.
Very good washing up. And I can't believe, here's this beautiful goddess in the stellar realms of fame, and yet she remains down-to-earth and grounded. It's an incredible feat. I don't know how you do that.
And her love life's going all right?
As if I'm going to tell you. Hello.
Damn. All right.
But I can't wait for the show tomorrow.
Listen, the Revenge Club is out right now. It tells the story of 4 women who took revenge on those that wronged them. It sounds very Dynasty in Dallas, which is right up my street.
Well, the reason women like revenge, it's sweet, but totally non-fattening.
Yes.
What's not to love about that?
Yeah, I gain weight when I think about revenge.